Hey, technical difficulties over. All right. Hello, everybody. The three of us are back together again. We don't really know why. We want to talk about some books that we read, and we're gonna talk about comic books for a little bit. So, I am Nate from Hall Yeah Comics. We've got Hagen from Lettuce Comics, and down below we've got Jacob from Bone Claws Comics. So,
What's up?
welcome, boys. It's good to see you again.
Likewise.
Yeah, good to see you too. It's just an excuse to hang out and talk. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, so I mean, I love a chance to talk to you guys. I really do. So let's see here. Let's do our layout and see how this works. Oh, it went to me by default. All right, I'm going to talk about my first book. This is Where the Body Was by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They do a lot of work together. The thing that I know them from is Criminal. And in the back of this book, they have like this whole list of all of the different series that they do. And a lot of these I had not heard of.
oh, cool.
Yeah, Fatale is one that I've wanted to read, and I've heard that omnibus is like sold out, and awaiting another printing. Pulp, I remember that one, the cowboy one. These down here, Reckless is what they're. The character, I can't remember if he's like a stuntman or something, but I feel like it takes place in the 70s or 80s. Those are great too, but they do noir criminal cop things better than almost anybody I've ever seen. And it's always Sean Phillips art, and it's always Ed Brubaker. So this one like takes place in a neighborhood, and there's a dead body, and there's just this great cast of neighborhood characters, these strung out teenagers, middle-aged women. There's a guy who is seducing this woman. I don't want to give too much away, but he's pretending to be a police officer, and he's not. And then when they find this body in the neighborhood, that's like a really big problem for this guy, because everyone in the neighborhood thinks he's a cop and he's not. And there's a little girl who dresses like a superhero, and she has a cape and a mask, and she kind of monitors the neighborhood. So there's a lot going on in this book character wise that they develop, and it comes to such a satisfying conclusion at the end. Like when you find out Where the Body Was is also kind of like Ed Brubaker at the end. He talks about what the title meant and why he wrote the story, because it's not like it's not super gritty like some of the other stuff they've done. There's actually a little bit of like suburban wholesomeness to this one, even though it is about a dead body. And yeah, he said that the title to him has more than one meaning, and like it was just, I don't know, it was really good, and I would recommend anybody pick this up. It's a self-contained story,
Nice.
You don't need anything before or after. And this was just, it was a really good read, and it's a genre that I like a lot. So I was really into this.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I really, really love Ed Brubaker's writing. Obviously, I have like an affinity for him, but yeah, I got my wife they do like image first reprints of some series. And I think I got her the Fatale #1. That was that. And if she doesn't open that soon, I'm going to open it before her, because I'm really, really intrigued. I love like noir stuff, like dime store novels. That's just great stuff.
I do too. What is his name? He passed away not too long ago. Darwin Cook. Darwin Cook did a series of the Parker novels by, I think, Richard Stark is the author of the novels, and he did graphic novel adaptations of them, and they're wonderful. They have they have his style. He kind of Bruce Timm cell shaded animation style. Again, I would recommend those two. Those were really good. But anyway, that was my first one. I read that, and I had nobody to talk to about it, so I talked to you guys.
Nice.
And so somebody go to their library and get that, because it's wonderful.
I will put that on order. Where the Body Was?
Where the Body Was. Yeah, good book. All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go. So me and Jacob went to a flea market weekend ago, and one of the things that I picked up there that wasn't a comic book, but that I really, really like, is this. This is Mad Magazine number 550, and you can see it up at the top. It's the last issue of Mad Magazine. This came out in, I think, 2018. Yep, April of 2018. And my grandmother would get me like issues of Mad Magazine, not regularly, but just randomly whenever they had covers that she thought were interesting. And I watched a lot of like Mad TV growing up, Spy versus Spy, that kind of thing. And I just really, really enjoyed it and thought it was great. So I saw this for $3 at the flea market and snatched it right up. Um, I was just telling you guys off camera, I don't buy things that I don't like to trade very often. But like if somebody were interested in doing like a little tradesies with this, I totally would. But I absolutely love this and would be happy to keep this around forever. Like this is just so cool. And like such a neat piece of like pop culture history, I think.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love last issues of things.
Mhm.
I think it's cool to have a first issue, but like, I mean, last issues I think sometimes are a little more prestigious too, because like something's getting canceled for a reason. There's less of the last issues to find out there. But I mean, Mad Magazine. So my Mad Magazine story would be when I was a kid, I had a friend, or my parents had a friend who worked at a grocery store, and so I would get all of the Mad magazines every month with the cover torn off, because they would do that to ship, to get credit for unsold books. But then I would get that. So I have an entire magazine box full of Mad magazines with no covers, and then that led to me getting a subscription. So then they pick up and they do have a cover, because I would get one in the mail every month. Mad Magazine, my friends and I talk about how funny it is, because they always, everything they did was so out of date. They only wrote so much new material. So like in the 1980s or 90s, you would still be reading like Richard Nixon jokes.
Mhm.
So I learned a lot about American history because they were lazy writers.
Yeah. Like I was growing up in the mid to late 2000s, and Mad Magazine is the reason why I knew who Michael Dukakis was. So
that's great. You're such a baby. For me, it was the 90s and Spiro Agnew.
Yeah, Spiro Agnew. Absolutely. Yeah, he was still hanging around during my era of Mad Magazine. For some reason, I think like the evocative name Spiro Agnew, they kept him around for a good long while.
Yeah, he was definitely the butt of jokes. You just made me think. Good Lord. Yeah, randomly. This was down in my pile. Now wait for it. The Spiro of 76. How funny is that? This thing is
fantastic.
I think this came out of a $1 box, and I snagged it. It's December of 1970.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I love that.
I love the stable of artists that they had for this book. They all had a very distinctive style, but you liked to see all of their work.
Yeah. And they had some pretty decent writers come through Mad Magazine. Of course, none come to mind to me right now, but
no.
It's funny how that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have the off the cuff brain for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I love that you guys were talking about last issues of things, because in the video that I was tagged in the top 5 undervalued books, one of my picks was a last issue of a major series. I wish I would have pulled it, but I'm not gonna go pull it now. But it was really neat that you brought that up. My first is a trade. It's really like a hardcover trade. It's going to be very popular. It's going to be Wolverine Origin. Let me there we go. Get the light in there, right? Yeah, this is one of my favorites. If you haven't read it, it's the origin of Wolverine, not the movie. The movie kind of played into it a little bit, but they did it really, really dirty, in my opinion. And but it's kind of the same story, but elongated or in more detail. Yeah, the artwork, Andy Kubert, fantastic stuff. I absolutely love it. And Bone Claws is featured, of course, because I don't know if it counts as a retcon. When he popped the Bone Claws for the first time, we found out that he had the claws before the adamantium was put in, because I think before then the story was the procedure added the claws to him, but then they kind of retconned it and made it Bone Claws. But since this included in the origin of him, now it's his official history that he was, part of his mutation. But if you haven't read Origin, I highly, highly recommend it, because it's really good reading, and it's not a lot of superhero-ish stuff. It's more grounded in historical kind of writing, kind of a setting, and really good stuff. I wish they would have continued this right, because they did a sequel, Origin 2, and they have a villain in this book that's never brought up again. It's Sabretooth's character in the movie, but in the book it's not Sabretooth. It's a character called Dog. Was his best friend growing up and kind of brother that it turns out to be. But he's the antagonist of this book growing up and then as a young adult, but he's never seen again, to my knowledge, in any of Wolverine's storylines. So I really wish they would have carried that on. And it's very good. And there's a reference to this book, and I want to say Wolverine Volume 7. If you don't know, Wolverine has a tattoo. A lot of people don't know that. Wolverine has a tattoo.
How
is
that
like
possible?
A little butterfly on the small of his back?
No. It's a tattoo of a rose, and is a homage to a character, Rose, in this book that was sort of hired on by his father to be a companion for him, kind of give him a friend. And she turned out to be sort of a romantic interest when they got a little bit older. And it's really kind of tragic what happens with the storyline with her. But he got a rose tattoo on his arm or his shoulder to commemorate his friend Rose from this book, which I thought was really, really neat.
So
now
go ahead.
Is that the series that they did after House of M? Like the reason why they did that series is because he was like regaining his memories after that, or am I misremembering?
No, in this series, actually, they kind of explain his memory loss as part of his healing factor, like traumatic events that would cause like a reworking of your brain. He would heal those traumatic events so he would forget them. It's kind of strange because it's like some things he remembers, some things he doesn't. But it was an interesting thing how they twisted it, like the death of his father, the traumatic experience that kind of propelled his mutation forward, because it's triggered by stressful events. He has no memory of it because they said his healing factor healed that part of his memory. But it was a neat little twist.
It's been a long time since I read that, but like that's also the time period I was working at a comic book shop when that book was being published. And I remember having like there were several different covers and incentive covers. I mean, and it's still like, we thought it was ridiculous then, and it pales in comparison to what they do now. But wasn't it kind of, you talked about Dog, wasn't it kind of like they made you feel like that was going to be Sabretooth, and then they sort of pulled that, like, I feel like there was a lot of things where they kind of led the reader to think what this is, and then they took that away.
Yeah, they kind of subverted expectations a little bit. I mean, The character grows up. It's the same. It's the groundskeeper's son who's the same age, and they hang out. But in the books, the groundskeeper and his son are the ones who kind of invade the house with guns after his father's fired. And Wolverine attacks both of them and kills the father and scratches the son on the face, who has these 3 scars across his face. So it's not Sabretooth.
Okay.
But I don't think the Dog has any mutant abilities whatsoever, but he became the heir to the Howlett estate. So, and they kind of switched names because his name was Dog Logan.
Yeah.
And Wolverine's name was James Howlett. And at the end of the book, it was, Dog taking over the Howlett and James taking the Logan name. So it was interesting that way too. But no, he's not you can see how they built it up for that, and then just kind of went a whole different direction.
Yeah, I remember really it's been a long time since I've read it, but I remember thinking it was really well done, and oh my gosh, the art, so good. All right. Okay, my next one is also another trade. This is another one I got from the library. I've just kind of been on I picked up a lot of individual issues of Judge Dredd lately, and so I just went to like Evergreen is the system that we use where you can order
Yeah.
anything. And so I went and I got anything Judge Dredd. And so these are Judge Dredd classics, The Dark Judges. And this one actually doesn't follow Judge Dredd at all. It follows Judge Anderson, and she's the one who is psychic. If you saw the Dredd movie, she's in there too. She's the female judge that is with Carl Urban's Judge Dredd. But this one has all the like Judge Death. I mean, and the art is so good. Who is it? It's a Brian Boland. There's a ton of Brian Boland art in this, and he does these evil judges so well. And they are like, I mean, it's just 2000 AD is the English book that these are from. It's printed serialized, and they do not care. I mean, they get dark, in a way that like Marvel and DC never would. And so it's I don't know, it's a really good read. Like I like this guy here, the guy with the skull head. There's one that's on fire, and then Judge Death I think is pretty much the most famous one. They come from like another dimension, and so when they are killed by the judges, they end up like recorporating or just taking over someone else's body, and then they're still there. And so she has to step up and be the hero. And it was, I don't know, it was a cool read. I really liked this. So I recommend anything Judge Dredd. It's not something I have a lot of knowledge about, but every time I read a story, I really, really like it.
Didn't they originally print those in black and white?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about this particular run because I think they are in color now, but I do know that the early 2000 AD stuff, I think our biggest, and I don't know, maybe it's British too, because I honestly don't know, but Heavy Metal is like what I always think of too. They're the Heavy Metal magazine having a sci-fi and fantasy anthology series. So Judge Dredd is just like one of the stories that's in the 2000 AD book, and it's serialized. And when we get it over here, it's more collected. We get bigger stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I haven't read much of it. I've been able to find some of the reprints over here by, I think it's Quality Comics. And I can't remember, I don't think it was First, but it might be First Comics. There's a couple of independent companies that have had the rights to it at different times. But I just, like I said, I grabbed like 3 trades. And that one I finished last week, and it was just really good. So again, another recommendation. If it's something that something that piques your interest at all, I definitely recommend you check out some Judge Dredd if you haven't.
I just picked up some Judge Dredd actually on a sale, and so I'll be checking in on little Judge Dredd reading action.
Awesome. There's so many good artists that work on it too, like Steve Dillon and Brian Boland. A lot of great writers that you don't realize got their start in doing Judge Dredd have come over here and done great runs on DC and Marvel books. All right, there he is.
So if we're talking Judge Dredd, I am trying to get the Eagle Comics reprints of these.
That's the other company I was thinking of.
Yeah, because as I understand it, I'm not like an encyclopedia of knowledge with this stuff. I see Judge Dredd, I buy Judge Dredd. That's pretty much as deep as it goes for me.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, Eagle Comics reprints multiple Judge Dredd stories in one comic book because in 2000 AD, it's like a magazine format. So there are multiple things that go into that. And I think there are like 3 different stories in here. I have Judge Dredd #1 somewhere in my house. But those are really neat because you get to see a bunch of action all in one comic book. And another thing that I picked up at the flea market was this. This is Batman Judge Dredd, The Ultimate Riddle. Now, this looks really cool. And it was the second thing that I read when I got home. And it is, it's okay. It's fine.
I wonder who the villain is of that story.
Yeah, you'd never guess. The Riddler actually, if if you don't mind spoilers, the Riddler isn't the main villain, but he is sort of the catalyst that starts things. The main villain is, I think, a Judge Dredd villain, like some interdimensional guy who I'm not familiar with. But the art is really cool. It's a really neat style. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, the art is really neat. It's a really cool style. But
Oh, who's the artist on that?
It is.
Is it Simon Bisley?
I will give you the 4 names on the cover.
Okay.
Grant, Wagner, Critchlow, and Power. Those are the 4 names on the cover of this. Carl Critchlow and Dermot Power are the artists. Yeah, it's really neat, and it's really cool. Like, everybody loves Batman, and I really like Judge Dredd, so having something like this is awesome. I just kind of wish that the story were a bit more made a bit more sense. The whole thing with this is that Batman and Judge Dredd get sort of kidnapped and forced into basically like an interdimensional Hunger Games, which is a cooler concept saying it out loud than having read it. But yeah. Maybe I did like this.
Oh, so okay, there is a Batman Judge Dredd painted by Simon Bisley, the guy who used to do Lobo covers in the 90s, and that one is really, I own it. I could dig it out, but the art in that was fantastic. I remember really liking that a lot too. I don't you kind of see like Judge Dredd is where Batman would go if he went too far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like I kind of like the two of them together for that reason. Like, you know, Batman has a line he won't cross, and so does Judge Dredd. But Judge Dredd's is quite a bit beyond.
Yeah, they're not the same line.
Yeah. Judge Dredd is Batman without those pesky morals getting in the way.
I'll disagree. I think Judge Dredd has morals. It's just he is imbued with deciding who's guilty.
You are right about that. His morals are just, they're a lot further down the line, like you said, than Batman's are.
And there's no every time I read a Judge Dredd story, like there's no nuance for him. You know, Batman sees a criminal and like he'll still have some empathy sometimes and understand that maybe that person isn't so far gone. And Judge Dredd is like, you broke the law, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
Correct.
Yeah, that one moment from the Batman animated series, I don't remember the girl's name, but this girl is dying and she's sitting on a swing set and she's like hurt a lot of people already. Do you know what I'm talking about?
God, stop it.
Yeah.
It's like Fry's dog from Futurama. I can't.
Oh my God.
It's a great moment.
Holds her hand.
It's so good. Yeah. And that's Batman.
Yeah. Judge Dredd would have shot her in the head.
That is all right. Jacob, you're following that.
Okay. We're gonna go a whole different direction. Since we're all Trekkies, I brought an old Gene Roddenberry book, Lost Universe. I don't know if you guys know this book, have ever seen this book, or heard of this book.
Okay, is that what's the imprint that's under with the letter T? Up at the top instead of like, what's the company?
Techno Comics.
Oh my God, is that like Tech War? William Shatner's Tech War?
No idea. No idea. But this is a creation of Gene Roddenberry that was published after his death, and the story was finished off by his wife. That I can't pronounce her name because it's 5 letters and it's the hardest name to say in the world.
It's Majel Barrett. And I love her.
Majel,
whatever. It doesn't matter. I love her.
She finishes it out, and it's your quintessential Star Trekian sci-fi. The storyline is for this series, it's 7 issues, is all over the place. But there's some aspects of it that would make it very, very good sci-fi if they kind of dove into it. For example, the world or the universe that's in is based in our universe, our galaxy, and they're spacefaring at this point, but they get visited by a refugee flotilla from Andromeda who are fleeing a world, or who are fleeing the Andromeda galaxy because there's a giant civil war there that's destroying the entire galaxy. So they settle all these species from Andromeda galaxy on this one planet, and then they call this asteroid that's going to hit it, Andromeda's Revenge. We don't know where it's coming from. It could be coming from Andromeda. We don't know. But they destroy it, and when they destroy it, they lose all contact with this planet of refugees. And then they have to go investigate. But they are investigating like 2 centuries after the fact. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but a very, very interesting concept. And like you can just tell, the Gene Roddenberry isms are all through this book. And the art style is very, very 90s. What's interesting about the series is each book, they have a creative team, artists and pencilers and inkers. Each book, they kind of rotate. So the artist or the penciler for one issue is the colorist for another issue, and the colorist is the penciler. So the art styles change, but it never strays from, your good old-fashioned 90s artwork. So, and yes,
wow,
there's trading cards in there too, because, all my books have trading cards apparently. But yeah, it's very, very 90s, and it's actually really, really good. And apparently this publisher has a lot of Star Trek people who do books, because on the back of it, there's an ad for Leonard Nimoy's Primordials. So
yes, I know. I come across that book all the time. I've never read it though.
Yeah, apparently this publishing company is also Trekkies. So very, very cool.
That painted cover is gorgeous and does not betray the artwork on the inside whatsoever.
Yeah.
No. That inside artwork is very like,
Well, check out the cover for issue 2.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote it down. I'm getting it. It's 7 issues. I'll get that.
Yeah, these are, I bought 1 through 5 for $2. So
wait, hold on. $2 all together, or $2 each?
For all 5 of them for $2.
Get the hell out of here.
5 issues for $2. Awesome. Yeah. That was in a $1 bin at a Heroes Con one year. So yeah, man. Really, really neat.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is these are like brand new. I cracked these open to read them, and it's like nobody has opened these books. These are like mint. The
Venn diagram of people that collect comics and that would want to read something that was Gene Roddenberry but not Star Trek, I don't think has that much overlap. I mean,
yeah, apparently not. You would think it would, nerddom be nerddom, but
yeah,
it's crazy how this book is not bigger than it is.
I wrote it down because I'm going to need that.
Yeah, I just wrote it down as well. That's what this is. This is like our bi-weekly comic book feeding frenzy.
Yes.
Right.
Give me a book to read.
That is funny. All right. Okay, I'm going to go back to Batman just because this was something I picked up in a $1 bin. So 2 issues here that go together. So check out these covers. So this one, we got this girl, right? And it's like she's beat up, she's scared, and you can see Batman's shadow. And then what came out the next month was the other side. Like, that's a little darker than I would think. So
what's he gonna do? Like, what's
the covers do not match the story aside from like thematically. So this is kind of a Jack the Ripper story. I mean, I'll spoil it a little bit just because I don't think it really matters. It wasn't great, but I did enjoy it. So they're finding women's bodies in dumpsters. Batman and Gordon are trying to figure it out. And speaking of Batman's line, like it comes up, like he finds the guy that is doing the murders, but he doesn't have the proof. And so at the end of like the first issue here, like Batman knows who's doing the murder and then just leaves because he doesn't have like legal ground to stand on. It was really weird, in my opinion. Like it seemed really out of character. And then I won't spoil the end, but I mean, justice is done, and it's done in a satisfying way, even if it's not the way that everybody in the book wanted it to go. So it was a pretty good little story. But yeah, the end of the first issue is a little weird. What I really liked about it was well, this is written by Jim Starlin, but there's something about blue and gray Batman from the 70s and 80s, before Batman 88, the movie, and he was always in all black. There's just something about this blue and gray Batman that I really like. I like seeing him just walking down the street. They did a lot with that, where he would just be with the police, but he's wearing his ridiculous outfit. And it's just kind of hard to envision that would really go over today, like it did back then. I don't know, but yeah, it was a weird serial killer story that I felt like Batman was not acting completely in character. It almost read, what it almost read like was like an episode of a cop show, but they didn't. It's like, oh, they didn't buy my episode of the cop show, so I'll just make Batman the main cop. And that's why when he doesn't have the evidence, he'll walk away, because Batman would go, he would take care of that shit.
Yeah, no. First of all, Batman would have the evidence. Like, let's be real
Right.
Yeah.
He's the world's greatest detective. He doesn't come up
or
short.
he would plant the evidence to protect his reputation.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't. Stop it.
I'll not have this Batman slander on this good Christian Minecraft server. How dare you?
Oh,
that's good.
That is
That's
funny.
good.
But yeah, I love finding something like that in a dollar bin. I had never seen that cover before, and when I saw Batman with a knife, I had to check it out. And to have both parts of the story was really cool too.
I'll buy almost anything for $1, like just to see what's going on.
Yeah,
you've seen my videos. It's it's the.
Hey, I bought that Jenna Jameson book, so I can't say anything.
You really can't.
So I'm gonna link.
I do explain so much. I do explain way too much to my wife. Thank you.
Your wife didn't know.
She looks over your shoulder and sees what you're watching, and you're nothing, honey.
It's comic books. I swear.
I swear.
I'm doing research for this comic creator.
All right, I'm gonna link 2 of the things that we've been talking about, and that's gonna be Batman and Star Trek. I have 2 books in front of me right now. I love Christmas issues. I don't have a ton of them, so I picked up this. This is Batman number 309. The top part here says the first day of Christmas will be the last day for someone on this cover. So Batman might have died. He didn't, I'm sure. The text here, like the title text, says, Batman, have yourself a deadly little Christmas, the blockbuster. And it's got like this holly border around it. I love it. I love it so much. And I bought it for $2.
Beautiful.
So, like a Batman Christmas issue. I guess, like, so it's like somebody on this cover might die. It's not going to be Batman because he's Batman. I don't know who Dude Guy is here.
I don't think it's going to be Blockbuster either.
Probably
so it's probably that
him.
poor girl.
It's probably her right down there.
He did a bad job saving her.
Yeah, I guess so. So, Batman Christmas issue. And now, the greatest comic book I've ever found, ever. I got this from my comic shop. I had to get an extra copy of another book that I'm going to send off to be signed. And this is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, The Dog of War, number 5, cover B. It just rolls right off the tongue. I'm not a huge fan of modern variants, but
that's all you got to say.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's it. It's gorgeous.
I just love this, and I love thinking about, because this is an actual picture. Like it's a picture of a corgi that they cut out and stapled onto this background, like this generic sci-fi background. And I just love thinking about what the photo shoot leading up to getting this picture of the corgi was like. Um, I am in love with this book. I love it so much. I've already got my wall like set up for the next video that I'm recording right now, but this is going up there soon.
It's the Borgie corgi.
I'm in love with it.
Yes, Borgie is it's everything I didn't know I needed. When you posted that on Instagram, I was just like, holy crap. I actually do. That's one of the things I read is the current IDW run of Star Trek and Star Trek Defiant, which are both, I mean, if you're as deep a Trekkie as I am, like it pulls people from basically all the series and put them onto two teams, and they're really well done. And so that would be something else. Like the trades are, I think, pretty easy to find and pretty cheap. I pull them monthly just because, but yeah, it's great. Cisco is the captain of one. Spock's on a team. Lore, Data's brother Lore, is on the dark team, of course, with Worf. And then B'Elanna and Tom Paris are on different ships, even though they've got a little baby together, which is also like, I don't know. I just love it. I love Trek so much. Let's see.
I'm about due for a rewatch of Next Generation, I think.
I think Jacob and I were talking about that the other day. Yeah. Like it's a show I sleep to sometimes. Like I will I'm on my current lap. I'm on season 7 and it makes me sad because that means I'm almost done. But like when my son was born, every summer when I was off, I would watch a series, not a season, a series. And so we started with TNG and then DS9, and we just went through in order. And, now he's 10 years old and I've been doing this for years anyway. But yeah, I have watched a lot of Trek since that baby was born.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, Star Trek is always one of those things that, and like, I'm probably gonna be shamed for this. I've seen all the Next Generation movies. I've seen a couple of the original series movies, not all of them. But the Next Generation is one of those things. Like, I would watch it when it came on TV, but I was a little kid, and this was before like the era of video on demand or like TiVo.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't get to see. I didn't get to see these things in sequence. It was just like for this 2-hour block, I get to see, Geordi LaForge and Data go on some wacky adventure. But I didn't get like the overarching plot of the entire thing. So I'm excited to go back and actually like watch it beginning to end. Cause I'm one of those people that I will watch the same television show over and over and over again because for whatever reason, like I'm scared to step out of my box until I have a catalyst. Like just talking to you guys is enough of a catalyst for me to be like, all right, now I need to go watch all of the Next Generation because I need to like live chat it to you people. So that's absolutely going to happen.
The thing I like about TNG is you don't have, it does have things that string throughout, but it's not it doesn't have an overarching story. It really is, it's episodic, and that's the problem people have with a lot of the modern shows. This problem I have with some of the modern shows. I haven't been able to get through Star Trek Discovery. I've watched everything else, but Discovery I just cannot handle.
Every episode she's crying. Stop crying, please.
It's a show in and of it. Like that would be an episode in and of itself. Just a bitch about some of the things that are, but I don't want to, because here's the thing. So all right, I'll wrap it up like this. My sister's favorite Star Trek show is Star Trek Discovery because it's the first show she watched that was Star Trek, and it led her to go watch other Star Trek shows. I freaking hate Discovery, but I'm not going to bitch about it because that just means it's not for me. My problem with it is I keep going back and trying to like it, and it just won't take no matter how hard I try. And there are good things about it. It's Trek. There's still good Trek there. It's just not as enjoyable.
Yeah.
No, I think to some degree that's a really good thing, because if if it were the same from beginning to end, if that one thing didn't appeal to someone, then they would just write off the entire thing. But then once you've gotten your foot in the door with, let's say, Star Trek Discovery, I haven't bothered to watch it, I'm going to be honest with you, but like once you've gotten your foot in the door with that, then it's like the only thing that's coming to my mind is like successive approximations for the teacher inclined among you. It's just inching your way towards what everybody considers to be like the good stuff, and it's not just like with Star Trek, it's with anything. So like it doesn't matter if you start out liking like Into the Spider-Verse. I can't stand like gatekeepers, because they'll say like, if you just like Into the Spider-Verse, you don't really like Spider-Man, you're not a fan, what yada yada yada. Bullshit. Like if no matter how you start, you're still a fan of that thing. I just can't stand negative people like that. So just because it's not for you doesn't mean doesn't mean you have to crap on it.
No, and I think you bring up a really valid point that like having things that appeal to different groups of people is what's going to grow a brand or something. I mean, you see it with comics big time right now. I see a lot of books where they're trying to have more of a manga or an anime style to things, because that's a huge fandom that they need to bring in.
The new Ultimate X-Men is in that style.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah. Well, I think Peach Momoko, I bought the new X-Men #1. I mean, I'm not a big Marvel guy, but I'll give a first issue a shot, and it was okay. But when I was looking at the multitude of variant covers that I could choose from, I got down to 2, and it was the one that was like cartoony with pretty much, I think, every X-Man in the world that's ever been I mean, it was like 100 different characters on there, or Peach Momoko. And I totally went with the Peach Momoko because it was adorable. I loved it. So I grabbed that one. I wish they did what DC does, where behind your variant cover you still get the A cover, but I mean, she's bringing in a lot of people, she's making a lot of money, and people are buying books because she's doing covers. So I'm not gonna poo-poo it. I love her, but other people might not. I'm with you. I can't stand people raging about stuff online like it's it's not for me, so it's an affront to the entire hobby.
Right.
All right. I think it's your turn, Jacob.
Yeah, I think it's my turn. So this is not cutesy. This is not, anything sort of Peach Momoko. This is Seven Sons, artwork by Jay Lee, if you can't tell by his style. The author, Robert Wyndham and Kelvin Mao. I read this book because I saw an ad in another book that I was reading. And this is not for everyone. Those of you who grew up in the Bible Belt are big into religion and stuff like that, this is going to be pure blasphemy to you. But
I'm intrigued.
But the setting is in modern time USA. There are 7 males born to virgin mothers, and they are held to be the next coming of Christ. One of the 7 is going to be proclaimed as the second coming of Christ. They don't know which one it is. And of course, this outrages other religious groups who are trying to assassinate them and succeed in assassinating some of them. But just how the world reacts and how the world is split and divided, and the injustices that are done in the name of the Christian religion because their second Christ has come, it's just put to the forefront. And it's like, man, what would really happen if this happened in real life? And there's I won't say a big twist, but a twist at the end that kind of flips everything upside down, and that's at the very end. So it's like, this is palatable, it's good, it's interesting, and then the very end comes and you're like, damn. And then it's over. And so it's a really good read. It's I want to say collected in like 10 issues, all collected in this little trade paperback. So yeah, if you're interested in it, really good read. But forewarned, it's not a kid's book, and it is very I guess you would say not for the church goer. But yeah, really cool.
Does Jay Lee do the interior art too?
He does. He does. I'll show you, trying not to spoil anything.
And so, just to be
Here you go.
clear, I show a book
Here's some
with
interior.
Borgie on the front of it, and you show us like
Blasphemy and sacrilege.
blasphemy in 10 comic issues.
You know, there has to be a yin to your yang. You know,
I guess so. Yeah.
didn't plan it that way.
Just because it's not for you doesn't mean.
Oh no, I wrote it down.
I did too.
There's no better way to get me to read something than to say like there are certain groups of people that probably shouldn't read this. And I'm like, ooh, what's that about?
Yeah, I can see why the series didn't make it to like the forefront of people's reviews.
All right, my next one is weird, but I bought this with no foreknowledge of what it is. Okay, a new comic book series, Mythologies and Apocrypha, issue number 1. As far as I know, this might be the only issue that they're going to do, because I told them that I wanted to put this on my pull list. So the cover has like weird retro futuristic Elvis, and it says Elvis in space. The back has an ad that looks like an old 60s ad for a trans-celestial shortwave radio so that you can talk to dead celebrities. The inside is beautiful, weird, black and white art, all about Steve McQueen and Frank Sinatra and Elvis and Sammy Davis Jr. and the Brat Pack and a lot of weird like science fiction elements. I can't tell you what the story is.
Did L. Ron Hubbard write this book?
It is. I wouldn't be surprised. So here you go, like Frank Sinatra and Steve McQueen in Burma. I don't have an answer for what this is, but it was so weird. I had to check it out. Like, there's all this stuff in here too about like Sinatra, how much he hates Elvis, because Sinatra was the Elvis before Elvis. So when Elvis showed up, he hated him. There's a lot of what I think is real history in here. And then there's like I said, then there's weird like on the moon space stuff. So I did read this. I cannot tell you what it. Look at this. Look at this ad for a Steve McQueen action figure that never existed. That reminds me of the old Evel Knievel toy. If you've ever seen that, there was an Evel Knievel motorcycle toy. This is what it reminds me of. I don't know who did this. The art is so cool and intricate. Tim Lane is the creator's name. It's not anybody I know anything about. But man, this was just so out there, and it was a $5.99. Like I avoid books that cost that usually, but as I was flipping through, I was like, this is worth a read, and it was.
I read this, but I can't tell you a single thing about it.
Yeah.
But that's like it's one of those. There's a lot of black and white independent books like that. I feel like where. Like, even though you read it and you kind of followed it, you get to the end and you're not sure what the story was. It's like a fever dream.
Yeah.
But
it's a new book?
It's a new book. Like, I bought that at the comic shop 2 weeks ago, maybe.
I missed that one entirely.
You might have gotten MK Ultra. That's sort of the vibe that I'm getting from that.
It feels like that. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like an alternate history tripped out, drug trip. Yeah, it was wild. And 5 out of 5 would not comprehend again.
Not every piece of art's meant to be understood. So
yeah.
I don't think it is. I enjoyed it. All right.
I got a couple things in front of me. But we were talking about something earlier. There's nothing more appealing than banning a piece of literature. And to me, there's no more famous example of that than the thing that is on my nightstand to read right now, which is this. Art Spiegelman's Mouse. Have you guys read this?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I have not because pretty sure it's still banned at my local library, and I know it's for sure still banned at my school. So but I heard that this was like one of the most popular banned graphic novels. So even like high school Hagen was like, I have got to find this and I have got to read this. And I only just now went on like Thrift Books or something and got it used in good condition for like $8 or something like that. But yeah, I'm so excited to read this because I've heard little bits and pieces about what it's about, and it's not really hard to figure out the subtext. You know, the text is barely sub, as it were.
Yeah.
So I'm really really excited to give that a read.
It is, God, man, it is so good and so powerful. And the fact that people are banning it because it makes them uncomfortable is pathetic. It's, I mean, I don't understand like the whole concept of I don't like this thing, so it should be for nobody.
Right.
And I'm not going to get up on my crazy horse about that, but like I'm with you. Like if I see something has been banned, I'm like instantly I'm getting that. And I'm going to check that out. Mouse is amazing. The guy that made it has a lot to do with his own personal family story. So, he got a lot of this from his dad and then, turned it into what it is. I think the presentation of the cats and the mice and just the whole thing is brilliant and sad and tragic. And the real tragedy is anybody thinking that they're helping people by not letting them see all the parts of humanity that we're capable of.
Head in the sand at its best.
Yeah, without a doubt. So you've never read it before?
I have read I've read bits and pieces of it because again, like I was an obstinate little kid and I was trying to find like little bits and pieces of it here and there. So on, X, Y, or Z social media site, there would be little clips of pages, and there are video essays that I've watched. The one that I'm thinking of is by Jacob Geller that reference Mouse at specific points. So I know a couple of the plot points. I know that it's basically Art Spiegelman giving not an allegory for his experience being the child of Holocaust survivors. But as far as the nitty gritty details, I haven't. I don't have that experience yet. But like, I'm so pumped. Maybe
you read
pumped
it,
is the
Jacob?
wrong word.
Yes.
Yes. I get what you're saying though.
I'm eager to read it because I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's an experience I think everybody should have. I really do. So that's an important one, man. That's cool. That's really cool. All right, Jacob.
Cool deal. All right, so I have to give a shout out to my man Namor, the Submariner, and bring out Namor: The Depths. This was a Marvel Knights release, 5-issue series, and this book or this series is very, very different than most comic series in that the superhero is not the main focus. The story surrounds the crew of a submarine on a mission, and they are sort of attacked by Namor, and it's told from their perspective. And it's written kind of like a horror story. Because, if you're, in the Navy, out on the sub, doing your thing, and you start having these interactions with this, I guess, super powered, submariner, it's pretty scary. And, it's told in that, that point of view. So yeah, really, really neat little twist on the superhero storytelling. And, one of my favorite characters to boot.
So is that a one shot or is it
It's a 5-part series. 5-part series. And if anybody who knows anything about Namor, he doesn't mind killing people, and he does. So yeah. Really,
I
really
will
neat.
Dark.
I will be silent during the Namor portion of this review.
One of these days. But yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming up on our hour. I don't have much left. I got one more I'll talk about. So this is just a random book. Like I grab random things and take them to bed with me in a stack and, read what I can, like that Batman one. So this was another one. Even though I am a DC guy, I freaking love the Defenders. The Defenders is just the weirdest team ever, in my opinion. So this is number 95, Enter Dracula. And I don't know if this is Dracula from Tomb of Dracula because I don't know enough about Marvel, but this story like starts with what is it? Nighthawk finds out that his powers only work during the daytime and at night, and during the day he'll be paralyzed because of some accident he had. They've picked up this character Gargoyle, and they all treat him like absolute crap. I think somebody died. I didn't in a previous issue. I think somebody died, and it was kind of his fault, or he stood by or something. So they all treat him like absolute crap. Like here we go. Patsy Walker is tackling him and calling him names. Then Son of Satan gives Patsy Walker this vision of her mother on her deathbed making a deal with the devil to give her more life and curse her daughter instead. Like, we haven't even got to Dracula yet, guys. This is like page 5. Like the Defender stories are so dense and insane. And so then through all that, at some point when Dracula does show up, I can't find the page, but Patsy Walker is like, do you really think it's Dracula? It's like, look at what you've got going on. Is Dracula the biggest thing that's hard to believe in for you right now? So I don't know. I freaking love the Defenders. Doctor Strange, when he gets going, like he will talk for 3 pages and he'll have 3 speech bubbles in every page. It just goes on forever. And it's a hoot. This was written by J.M. DeMatteis, who's one of my favorite authors, period. He writes really well. Just the team they've put together. And this is leading up to Patsy Walker and Son of Satan. They get married or something. Like it gets wild as this. I have a lot of the ones from this era, and it gets crazy. All right. You got another one for us, Hagen?
I'm going to do a couple of these. These are 2 that I found at the flea market and specifically thought of you. I'll start with the one that you haven't seen yet. This is Captain America and Hawkeye 631. And I thought of you because Captain America is turning into a Tyrannosaurus on the front cover.
That is amazing.
Like, I saw this in a 50-cent bin and was like, I know nothing about this. I didn't read Captain America and Hawkeye is a kind of a little offshoot of the Captain America and Bucky series, and I was never really into that. But I saw this and knew that I had to pick it up. One, because like I thought about you and your whole body transformation thing, but also T-Rex Captain America. I'm not a very hard person to please, so I picked this one up for 2 of my shiniest quarters.
I don't know if I can say that's better than Cap Wolf, but it's at least even.
Cap Wolf is I have the Cap Wolf issue in here somewhere, but
so good.
It's tremendous. But the other one is this. This is Nomad #1. And yes, it does have his rookie card. But Nate, the thing that you didn't see earlier is that's Bucky, the little baby that he kidnaps. He's right here on the cover. And my light is awful. But he's dressed him up with a mullet and sunglasses. He's got him a little teddy bear.
That's hilarious.
No, it's a girl. It's a girl.
Oh, is it a girl?
Bucky is a girl.
Okay.
And
this is Bucky.
Yes, she loves to wear the mask. Like people try to take it off of her, and she won't let them.
Yeah, I'm scared to read this. I know that I have to, but I am horrified to read this. But yeah, I had to show you that, and I've never gotten one of these little cards before. I really want to get like the Marvel Masterpiece sets but
Mhm.
they just don't show up near where I am for whatever reason. So I got Nomad's rookie card. Yeah, that's my thing now.
I mean, you definitely gave me another goal. I didn't know it existed, and I need it.
All right.
All right.
The last thing I really have to show is not really the story. I guess it kind of is. You guys know that most of my collection is 90s and newer. I have some 80s, some Bronze Age stuff. I don't really collect Silver Age and definitely don't have any Gold Age. But having Namor as one of my favorite characters, there's a deep history there in Silver Age and Gold Age. So, at the behest of both of you, I purchased my first Silver Age book, and it is the Submariner. Yeah, 15-cent Submariner. Yep.
One of us. One
One of us.
Well, actually, yes, because since this, I've purchased like 3 more Silver Age Submariner books.
Oh, you are one of us. You're in trouble.
The dam has broken, ladies and gentlemen.
Your guys' fault. This is your guys' fault. My wife thanks you.
Hey, I love that cover.
That cover's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Stingray.
I don't know who that is.
It's one of the I guess nobody's bad and nobody's good in Namor because everybody's both bad and good. Yeah. But yeah, he's a antagonist, I guess, to Namor, who is often an antagonist himself. But yeah, you get the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
have
that's
you
super cool.
Opened that up and given it a sniff?
Not this one, but I did smell one of my other Silver Age books. So.
Okay.
and it smelled surprisingly a lot like the Bronze Age books that I own.
Yeah, but can't you just smell that extra $20 that you had to spend on it? Like that's just good stuff right there.
I didn't spend $20 on it though. That's one thing I like. Submariner is like undervalued, and I talk about this in my undervalued book. He's not a very sought after character, which is great for me because his books are cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think I spent more than $15 on any of the Silver Age Submariner books that I've gotten.
Yeah, I would say that Submariner is appropriately valued, but we'll agree on that.
Nice.
I've told you this before. Like what you like. I'm so happy that you like what you like because that means that when you go buy Submariner books, there are fewer of them that I have to look at. So,
do you know how much Dazzler I have back here? Like,
now the real tick that bit me. I started looking at the Golden Age Submariner books.
Oh, that's very dangerous.
And those, it doesn't matter how popular the character is. Golden Age is Golden Age, and with that comes a hefty price tag that I'm finding. So, maybe a Grail purchase one day. I don't know yet.
I don't own a single Golden Age book. I mean, I have a very few books from the very early 50s, and I think that can kind of technically, it's a 10-center and it can count, but I feel like it's got to be from the 40s to be like. Just my own personal, thought. I don't know what the lines of demarcation are, but I don't own anything that old. And sometimes I've seen a few that like they're not relatively not too bad. You see a really cool yellow covered 1940s Superman, and it's $150. It's not in great shape. 150 is not terrible, but it's a book that might be so brittle you can't even read it.
Right. No, I've been looking at Golden Age Captain America because I'm a giant whore, and like you can't get a coverless Golden Age Cap book for less than $600 or $700 if you can find them for that cheap.
Wow.
There's the one that like I would want because Captain America 1 through like 20 are just insanely expensive, but the one that I would want is I think it's issue number 56. It's when they switch from Timely to Atlas, and that's when it gains the Captain America Commie Smasher subtitle, and that's just I just really like that. But that one in like a 1.0, something like $2,500. And I would rather buy $2,500 books than than to blow $2,500 on one comic book.
Yeah, all the
That's
ones
just-
I've seen of
that's a bit much.
Namor are 4 figures and up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is- yeah. I mean, I
It's the pain
Sometimes
of
it-
loving a Golden Age superhero.
pays to be a DC guy sometimes. Although, I mean,
except for
yeah, I mean, you know, those Batman is through the roof. I don't know what it is about the super family stuff that isn't as pricey, but you know, the keys definitely are, and there are definitely books that are worth a lot. But like I said, I know I've seen Golden Age books that just weren't, you know, they weren't over a couple $100, which I think is insane, especially hearing what you guys are saying about these other books all being in the thousands.
yeah.
But I did see, so I did that dig at that toy shop, and I was sending you guys pictures. And I don't know if I got pictures of this one or not, but he had 2 Captain Marvels from the 40s. I think it was like 44 or 46 were the 2 issues that he had, and they were gorgeous. Like, they were really nice. And he had talked about, you know, if asked if I was interested, I said no. You know, it's not a hero I wanted to collect, number one, and number two, I knew it would be too much. But like the paper of Golden Age books is so different too. You know, like, I could tell looking at it that it was not going to hold up to a whole lot of reading. Like this, buying something like that, you're kind of buying it just to have it, and that's something else I'm not into. I want to be able to read stuff. Like Gene Roddenberry's Lost Universe and Seven Sons, which I wrote down today.
Those are the 2 ones that I wrote down too. Yeah.
I'm glad I could expand you guys' repertoire a little bit.
Yeah, man. All right, so we are over an hour. We should probably wrap this up and let people get back to their business. Please, if you are not subscribed to one of the gentlemen who is here with me, please subscribe to them, because they are awesome, and I enjoy hanging out with you guys. And we will do it again soon. We're at least doing this bi-weekly, just because it gives us a chance to you know, talk outside of Instagram. All right. Don't go anywhere, boys. But goodbye to everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.